Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at ipvanish.com/audio.
Fire Eyes Media.
Before we begin, this episode refers to children being harmed and may contain strong language.
911.
I need an ambulance.
What's wrong, ma'am?
My daughter fell in the pool and she's not breathing.
Where at, ma'am?
In Esto.
An Esto woman is in the Holmes County Jail tonight charged with killing her own daughter. At least one witness says they saw Lewis pushing the little girl underwater. Lewis has reportedly denied she killed her own child. She is due in court tomorrow morning for a bond hearing.
Okay, we haven't officially started the podcast yet, but I did just want to say this. I debated whether I should use the children's names in this series. Their identities are in open public domain and all over the internet, as is this case. So I've decided to use them, but with hesitance. The victim in this case is a 7-year-old Adrianna. For whatever reason, the victim appears to be forgotten during all the legal wranglings. She was a very little girl with ADHD, and she always tried her best. Many have criticized the accused for being blunt or emotionless. That's the mother I'm talking about. But during my research, I found that just about everyone was the same, including her own family members and the sheriff's office. I was unable to find any official transcript or recording or document or anything that showed any sympathy for the victim or the victim's family. Other than the EMTs and the hospital, the only sign of emotion I could find was from the accused mother herself. Now, she is the very person the prosecutor and the sheriff said showed no emotion. It's confusing. Now, there have been a few TV shows, major TV networks, about 3 of them, telling different versions of the story, but none of them were able to tell the entire story. So, here's what really happened. By the way, her name was Adrianna Hutto. She was a vulnerable 7-year-old little girl who passed away in her own swimming pool. Let's not forget this during all the rhetoric and conjecture, or medical facts and pseudoscience. A precious little girl has died.
There is in my opinion, a credible witness.
How old are you?
7.
Do you know the difference between a truth and a lie?
No, sir.
If I told you your mother was in the courtroom here today, would that be the truth?
No, sir.
Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of In Esto. My name's Leigh Hunt. I'm a crime historian and author, and I sometimes dabble in radio as well. This is a case that captured my attention. I might accidentally blanket you with loads of information. For that, I'm not sorry, because there's a lot to get through. But let me set the scene for you first. Esto, Florida. This is taken from the town's official website. Nestled in the heart of the Florida Panhandle is Esto, a charming town with rich history and a welcoming community spirit. Surrounded by the natural beauty of Northwest Florida, our town boasts a unique blend of southern hospitality and small-town charm. Daniel Boone explored the area in the 1760s, and the swamps are said to be inhabited by a huge red-eyed gator named Two-Toe Tom. Some call him the Loch Ness Monster of Northwest Florida. The small town of Esto is ranked in the top 10 of lottery's winningest locations. Yeah, the friendly mini market on Highway 75 is in the top 10 of the whole state's winning lottery tickets. So if you're in the area, you might want to stop by because there are more winners out of Esto than any other town its size. But let's get to the story. It's the summer of 2007. Esto, at that time, had a population of about 350. but was near a few larger towns, and people loved the rural lifestyle. Just miles from the Alabama border, on the south, is Holmes County, one of the poorest areas of Florida, predominantly white. Bonifay, the nearby town, has a local sheriff's office and a community fire and rescue department, but much of the in-depth police work was done down in Panama City. It's about 63 miles away. You can get there in about an hour if you put your feet to the floor and hit the freeway. Amanda Lewis, 27-year-old mother of two, and certified nursing assistant in nearby Bonifay. She had 2 kids from a previous relationship. They were Adrianna, who was 7, and little AJ, who was 6. Neither had a relationship with their different fathers. Not important. Amanda lived with her boyfriend, Alan Carnley, and occasionally his 2 kids, Alan Michael, or Alan Jr. as we may call him. He's 14, and Amber, who's 11. When they weren't with their mum's house just over the Alabama border, they came to stay a lot. In fact, Alan Michael started staying longer and longer as he got older because he had his own room. And they'd always work out sleeping arrangements when Amber came to stay. Alan Sr. and his ex-partner Amy, they'd separated years before, and Amanda had moved into Alan's double-wide trailer home with her kids. It's about September 2005. The house was down First Avenue, Esto, on a gravel road. The tarmac stopped as you left Commerce Street. It's one of the main roads going north-south through the little town. They lived in a classic double-wide mobile home, not unlike the thousands that dot around the South and elsewhere. Slightly gray, it's got a siding with white trim, green shutters. I'd be lying if I said the exterior was really well kept, but it wasn't decrepit, or even close to being the ugliest in town. Even though it didn't really have a porch out front or proper steps when you exit the back door, and the side kitchen entrance was just some blocks, it was a nice family home. Inside, the main sitting room and kitchen were pretty tidy. The sitting room had yellow paneled walls covered in images of Elvis Presley. Everybody loves the king. Greenish blue carpet and red couches. The kitchen was like any other kitchen in the South. Flowered wallpaper, blue curtains, and a dozen 2-liter soda bottles neatly positioned on the countertop, all ready for drinking on a hot day. The rest of the house, not so tidy, but more about that later. The outside of the house was surrounded on all sides by sun-drenched Florida grass that grows like mad. It grows in patches because of the heat. Alan did a pretty good job of tidying it up on his ride-on mower. Other than around the square fenced area that was directly out the back door, grass was everywhere. The fence line was as wide as the house itself, and it kept the dog from going wherever it liked. They were about 200 feet from the nearest neighbor's home on the west side, and blocked on both sides by trees and bushes. There wasn't really a neighbor to the east at all. All of the kids, at one time or another, loved playing in the perimeter of the house. Adrianna and AJ were not supposed to cross the gravel road, but they did sometimes on occasions. Alan purchased a large rubber above-ground pool. It had a ladder to enter the side of the pool. Now, the ladder rested on the floor of the pool and the ground outside the pool, but did not touch the pool itself, or it would collapse. Like a big capital A. It had a white steel frame, and it had ratings going up, and when you're on the top of the platform, you could stand up there. It had 3 blue plastic steps going up and 3 blue plastic steps going down into the pool. The pool had a cover to protect it, and a big tarp below it. It sat on top of the grass. The ground wasn't exactly level, so one side was slightly deeper than the other, although not a crazy slope. It just made the pool a couple of inches deeper on one end than the other end. Alan and Amanda got the pool because the kids liked to play in Alan's sister pool. She just lived down the road, and they enjoyed it so much that they thought they'd splurge for one of their own for the summer. They were starting to get really tired of going down the road to his sister's, and I'm sure his sister was tired of hosting them every time it was really hot. Now, both the young kids, Adrianna and AJ, used floaties or water wings when they were in the pool. Amanda was always with them, and they weren't allowed to swim alone.
Me and Alan both would get in there and play with them. And we'd swim and, play. And, they liked to play turtle, and that was just where they got on my back, and I'd swim around the pool. But as far as Adrianna, unless she had the floaties on or we were with her, she didn't like to get away from the edge of the pool so that she could hold on. Or either she'd stay at the ladder. Before we bought our pool, we would go to Alan's sister's, and she would do that. She'd stay right there at the ladder. Of course, that one they couldn't reach.
But she's never gotten the pool by herself before?
Mm-mm.
Have you ever seen the wagon up beside the pool like that?
I don't let them put anything up beside it. One, we didn't want it to get punctured, and two, I didn't want them falling in it, and this happening.
You normally keep the ladder locked up,
mm-hmm.
and the ladder's locked up now?
Yes. That was the first rule when we got the pool, that the ladder would stay locked up. And it stays right there in the shed.
Alan, Michael, and Amber loved the pool, but didn't jump into this pool too often. They were busy with their lives, coming and going from the house, but they did like the pool. Alan Sr. and his son erected the pool on the eastern part of the property in early July, just after the school year broke up, ready for the summer. The pool was outside of a small fence line, and you could see it clearly right out the back sliding glass door if you turn your head a little bit to the right. Now, this is Florida. It's hot, really hot. Everyone can use a cool down. Despite drowning being the #1 killer of children in Florida, they got one once the kids were a certain age. This ladder was locked away in the shed, and the pool was almost always covered. The shed looked like a little barn in the northern part of the property. It's about 50 feet from the pool, and this shed was always locked. They kept the mower in there, they kept the pool cleaning items, they kept the net for scooping out the bugs. This is Florida, after all. Bugs are everywhere. There were strict rules for the kids about not going in the pool when the parents were not around. Now, this previous weekend, Alan had added chemicals to the pool and had not replaced the cover. It was open to the elements he wanted to dissipate. The ladder was still locked up in the barn/shed. Now let's flash forward. It's early August 2007. August 8th, to be exact. Amanda had worked the night shift at Bonifay Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Her shift is 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., the overnight, the graveyard shift. She didn't get home until about 8 a.m. that morning. It was payday, and there was a mandatory work meeting she had to attend. Amanda was away all night working, while Alan Sr. and Alan Michael took care of the kids overnight. Alan Sr. is a meat cutter, and he works at a market just 10 miles away, but it's across the Alabama border, and he doesn't have to be at work till about 6 a.m. He's got to set up and get everything ready. So he leaves the house about 5:30 a.m. that morning. He doesn't have to go in every day that early, but on August 8th, he was scheduled to be in early. On his way out of the house, Alan Sr. stopped by Adrianna to see her in her bed, the bunk bed, as he went past. She was awake. He then went past AJ, who was sleeping on a camp bed in the living room. The two little ones shared a room, and they probably really loved it when there wasn't anyone else there. And when AJ behaved himself, he was allowed to set up a camp bed in the living room. His mother had purchased it from a yard sale. He thought it was just like camping. Now, I can identify with that. I remember doing something very, very similar when I was 6-year-old, and I loved it. As Alan Sr. took off for work, babysitting duties shifted to Alan Jr., Alan Michael, who was asleep in his room, and he was just off the living room, not far away. What happens between this time that Alan Sr. leaves to work and Amanda arrives home from her shift, the nursing home, is kind of unknown. On August 8th, it was somewhere about 2.5 hours between the time Alan leaves and Amanda gets home. They were under the care of 14-year-old Alan Michael, but he was fast asleep in his room.
What did you discover when you went in the house?
Well, they were sitting there watching cartoons. They were I went to a yard sale, and there was one of the little bed things that you can put in a tent to inflate the thing. And last night I had aired it up to make sure it didn't have any holes in it. And AJ wanted to sleep on it. And so it was out, so both of them were sitting on it watching TV.
So AJ slept in the living room?
Mm-hmm.
And where did Adrianna sleep?
On her bed. They've got bunk beds.
So they were both on that when you come in?
Mm-hmm.
Where was Alan Michael?
He was still asleep in his room.
You said you took a nap at around 9:30?
Mm-hmm.
What transpired in that hour and a half there?
When Amanda arrives home at 8 a.m., she says AJ and Adrianna were sitting on the camp bed in the living room just watching TV. Adrianna told her mom that she had thrown up on the sheets and that she had had a bad tummy. Amanda sat with them for a bit and watched TV and then read her book a little bit. About 9:30 a.m., Amanda told them that she needs to take a little nap, and they would all go do their school shopping later on in the day when it cooled down. Kids told her they wanted to go swimming in the pool, and it was already 90 degrees outside, so that sounds like a good idea. Amanda said, "Look, you can either go swimming or you can go shopping." The kids chose to go shopping for school stuff. They'd been cooped up in the house for a long time. They obviously wanted to get out. The temperature now into the afternoon was in the low 100s. It's another sweltering hot August day in North Florida. A lot of people avoided the heat during the middle of the day. Amanda said she woke about 12:30ish and let the kids go outside to play. She saw they were playing together with AJ's trucks in the front yard and along the driveway and the gravel road. She told them that she was going to take a quick shower, and they would need to do the same before they go shopping. Meanwhile, Alan Michael, still asleep in his room into the afternoon, he hears none of this. He's got a noisy air conditioner just outside his bedroom window, and he says he heard nothing.
Well, they, continue to watch cartoons. I got up, I got something to drink. Went in there and I sat down and was watching cartoons with them, and that's when they asked if they could, get in the pool. And then that's when I told them, do you want to go get in the pool or do you want to go get your school stuff? And they wanted to go get their school stuff because they had already picked out book bags and all kind of stuff out of the papers.
Okay, then what happened?
I piddled around a little bit more, and then they wanted to go outside, and they went outside and played. And they were sitting in the dirt playing with his tractors. Right there where that tree's at in the front, in that dirt. That's where they were playing. And me walking back and forth, they stayed there for the longest, just playing with the tractors.
Where was Alan Michael at that time?
Still asleep. He had woken up one time, and he come out, and he had played around with AJ a little bit. It was right after I got up, and then he went on back to his room.
Amanda got out of the shower, shifted some towels and sheets from the washer to the dryer, and then she started a new load of the dirty sheets. She called over to Alan Sr. at work to check in and have a bit of a chit-chat. He's probably on his lunch break. While on the phone, Amanda goes to the front door to see what AJ's up to. He was now alone, playing in the trees beside the driveway. They called it the trash can tree. It's where you put the rubbish out for the weekly collection. She asked AJ, "Where's Adrianna?" He said, "She was playing out by the back pool, I think." Amanda told him to go get her because they have to get ready to go shopping. According to Amanda, AJ ran around the side of the house, and she made her way to the sliding glass door at the back. She looked out, but couldn't see Adrianna. She's still on the telephone through the entire exchange. Alan Sr. hears it. She then sees AJ standing on a red wagon, reaching over the side of the pool, raking at something.
They were playing in the front yard in the driveway with some of AJ's trucks. And I went out and checked on them, and I told them I was supposed to take a shower. And then they could come in, we'd get them bathed, and then we'd go do their school shopping. And I went and took my shower, put some towels in the washing machine and some in the dryer. And then I walked to the front door, and I couldn't see Andrew, and he was in the trees beside the house, climbing in them. And I asked him where Adrianna was at, and he said she was playing at the pool. I said, well, go tell her to come in so we can get ready to go, and we'll go get your school stuff. And he went to go around the house, and I went to the sliding glass door at the back and looked out, and I didn't see her. And when I looked at him, he was on the wagon, reaching over in the pool, raking at something. And I asked him what was he doing, and he said that Adrianna was upside down in the pool, and she wasn't moving. And that's when I run out there, and I made him go get Alan Michael. And then when he came out, I told him, I said, take AJ in the house and keep him in there. And I was trying to get her out because she was close to the middle of the pool. And then I leaned over and reached over, and I managed to get her foot, and I pulled her out and got her on the ground. And I tried to do CPR as I was calling 911.
911.
Ambulance, please.
911.
I need an ambulance.
What's wrong, ma'am?
My daughter fell in the pool and she's not breathing.
Where at, ma'am?
In Esto.
Ma'am, what's your address?
3343 First Avenue South.
3343 First Avenue South.
Yes, down the road from the post office at the very end.
What's your phone number, ma'am?
850-263-0759.
And she's not breathing. How old is she?
She's 7 years old.
All right, hang on just a second, ma'am.
Oh, God.
Just a second, ma'am.
Her lips are purple. What do I do?
Ma'am?
Water's just coming out of her nose.
Yes, sir. Ma'am?
Huh?
You said water's coming out of her nose?
Yes, I've got her on her side. It's just coming out of her nose every time I move her.
Okay, hang on just a second.
Please hurry.
Rescue? Yes, ma'am. I've got them on the way. I'm going to see if they can do something to help you. Hang on just a moment. Rescue 1, they're advising they've got her laid over on her side. Water's coming out of her nose. Is there anything they can do till you get 1012? Hang on just a second. Does she have a pulse, ma'am?
No, she's not got nothing. She is purple.
She don't. Hang on just a second.
Everything's purple.
Who's advising she's purple, no pulse, no breathing? Hang on just a second, ma'am. 10-4. Okay, ma'am, I've got rescue on the way, and I'm fixing to get you someone else, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to call you right back in just a few minutes. Ma'am?
Huh?
We've got them on the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quite a traumatic scene has just occurred, and Amanda says that she managed to lean over the pool's edge and grab Adrianna's foot. Amanda says she was almost in the middle of the pool as she just able to get the foot. The pool would have collapsed if she'd reached any further. I mean, luckily for Amanda, she's a good height, and she was able to catch Adrianna's heel and drag her to the edge of the pool. Once Amanda got Adrianna in her arms, she safely lifted her onto the grass, and she began rudimentary CPR. Her training as a nursing assistant only covered the basics, but did not include resuscitation after potential drownings. She immediately told AJ, "Go inside, get Alan Jr. from his room." Once he arrived outside, Amanda told him to take AJ in the house and keep him there, away from the scene.
I tried to give her CPR. I mean, I'm not that good at it. And then the dispatcher was, telling me, was she breathing? And I told her no, and I was trying to give her CPR then.
Did you have any trouble getting her out of the pool?
Well, she was kind of in the middle, so I had to lean over the side.
But you didn't have to get in it?
I didn't have to get in it. I could reach her from the outside.
Were you standing in the wagon?
No, I was standing on the ground. And the side that I was on, the pool's not even, so it was kind of leaning that way, and I just leaned over.
You didn't have no trouble getting her out?
Mm-mm. I mean, I had to rake at her toes to get her to where I could grab her leg, and then I pulled her to me and then pulled her out of the pool.
What about the bruises?
The one that was on, when I pulled her out of the pool, the one that was right here was a very small purple spot. It wasn't nothing like it is right now. And when they got there, they asked me if she had bumped her head or she had had a mark all day, and I told them no, she's not had a mark on her head.
Had she had any bruises?
Well, I mean, little ones on her legs, and I think she had one on her left arm or her right arm where her and AJ would fight. But other than that, she didn't have any.
Alan Jr. had been in and out of sleep while in his room, all through the morning and into the afternoon. He'd only just fully awakened about 1:30 p.m. He rolled over, watched some TV for a bit, and then spoke with Amanda. He then checked his phone and came out and took a shower. Here's how the 14-year-old Alan Jr. described the events to Sheriff Leigh a few days later. He was taken to the sheriff's office by his mother, but interviewed without any parents present. The background noise you hear is another sheriff's deputy coming in and out of the room, putting his notepad in his back pocket, and then eventually taking a seat.
And I need you to think back that morning and tell me what went on from the time you woke up that morning. Can you do that for me? Okay.
I woke up and I checked on my phone to see if anybody called me.
About what time was that?
About 1-something, 1:30.
Okay.
And then I started watching TV, and then Miss Amanda came in and told me that she was going to take them school shopping.
Okay.
So then I called Brandon, and I was going to go to his house. Well, they didn't answer the first time, so I was going to call him again later after I got out of the shower. And so I went and got in the shower, and then AJ ran in there and told me that Adrianna was dead. So I ran outside, and Miss Amanda was giving her mouth to mouth. And she told me to take AJ inside, and I turned on cartoon, and everybody started showing up.
Okay. So you woke up about 1 o'clock, started watching TV, called Brandon. Brandon who?
Carla.
Did you call him on your house phone or on your cell phone?
My house phone.
Alan Jr. told police, very bluntly, that AJ ran into the house and told him that Adrianna was dead. Not drowned, not being resuscitated, not getting CPR, not hurt, but dead. And this is Alan Michael's father, Alan Sr. This is how he described events to sheriffs the following day. Now, remember, he was on the other end of the phone line with Amanda when all of this was taking place.
When she called me, I was at work, okay? I was on the phone with her. Her little boy come inside, and she told AJ that they needed to get ready. They was going shopping to go tell her to come back in so he could take a shower. Mm-hmm. So next thing I know, I heard my front door open on my trailer. You couldn't know the door open, and I heard Amanda go out and down the steps. She had the phone with her. And as soon as she rounded the trailer, heading towards the pool, you could tell that she started in a trot. You could tell my phone was bouncing. And when she got to the pool, she was in the pool upside down. I said, well, get her out, put her on the ground, turn her to her side, and call 911. And the next thing I know, the phone goes dead. So I waited probably 5 or 6 minutes, called her back. She said she'd call 911, and they had paged out the fire department.
911 dispatchers do not call Amanda back as promised because paramedics arrive on the scene within minutes. This is a fine example of how fast first responders can attend in rural areas. The house was close enough to the center of Esto and only about a mile from the nearest firehouse. Esto fire chief was the first on the scene, probably one of the most decorated and experienced, skilled responders Northern Florida had ever seen. Charles Corcoran moved down from New York to the South, and he brought all of his medical credentials and experience with him. He was the first to arrive and the first to start CPR. He tried to clear the water from Adrianna's lungs. They briefly got a pulse and prepared her for transport, first putting her into the ambulance and then prepped her for the life flight helicopter that was soon to arrive. They needed to get her to Panama City, the best facility in the region. Let's have a quick listen to the fire chief's credentials in his own words. It's quite impressive.
I started in the fire service where I grew up in Elizabeth, New Jersey. I did 3 years there. I was assigned to a unit called the Rescue Squad that did first aid, extrication, all qualified and taught by the Red Cross. Worked for approximately 40 years. I was also in the reserves, the Army Reserve and Air National Guard. I went into a LPN program run by Delaware University. I passed that and got an LPN license in New York, went back to school, got a degree as a applied nursing science registered nurse, passed the state boards. I did another course in Dakota in what they call the compact states in the Midwest and got a license for 14 states there. I worked in an ER and labor and delivery in a Manhattan hospital. And I worked in the ER and surgery recovery in a Brooklyn hospital.
Fire Chief Cochran knew Alan Carnley and knew his home. Alan Carnley was a member of the community fire squad, so he was turning up at the firehouse for meetings. In fact, he was with Charles Cochran the night before the accident. So when Charles Cochran arrives at the house, he was no stranger to the Carnley family and no stranger to the area. Not only was he the most experienced EMT in the region, he also had specific geographical information. No wonder he arrived within 3 minutes. When Fire Chief Cochran arrives at the scene, he sees a distraught mother leaning over her child. He takes over CPR from Amanda and begins a series of very important steps to remove water from the airway. Here he is, telling Holmes County deputies exactly what he did that afternoon in an unreleased police audio.
She is the mother right now. Where was the mother? The mother was kneeling with her back to the pool, and the baby's head was towards the road, and she was cradling the baby from foot to head position.
She was
pretty much over, crying and consoling the baby, and in that state of grief that you would expect for that occurrence.
Okay. What happened? Can you walk me through the steps when you got there?
I responded east on First Avenue, drove into the yard, saw the two people down on the ground. I got out of the vehicle, started approaching, asked the mother, Amanda, how long has she been in the pool? I looked at the baby. I told the mother to leave and go get me some towels. I'm going to need some towels. There was obvious water infiltration in the mouth. There was drainage from the nose. I picked the child up, turned it over, turned it back over, looked, put my hand in. I gave 2 breaths. I saw the distension. I put pressure on the stomach. I got a gush of fluid. Turned it over and I picked her up, let her drain again. At that time, one of my other guys, Martinez, came in. I put him on the other side, told him to start taking the pulse. I did the compression. She had something of a, I will term it a tank top on. I lifted it up to the shoulders. It had been intact. I found my landmarks. I started giving the compressions. I kept getting liquid water returns. I drained it again. I had Martinez and I told him to do a finger sweep on it. A couple of more breaths. At this point, I don't remember how many. I heard the gurgling. One more good compression on the chest. I went back to CPR. And I'm going to estimate 4 to 5 minutes of CPR, and I picked her up again, and I drained her.
Drowning was the #1 reason for child fatalities in the state of Florida. Now, Bay Medical in Panama City is the best place for someone in Adrianna's condition. In total, over 10 EMTs would handle Adrianna's body before she arrived at Bay Medical Center. Sadly, poor 7-year-old Adrianna was pronounced dead at 5:05 p.m., less than 2.5 hours after the 911 call. But 4 minutes later, way back in Bonifay, 60 miles away from Panama City, Holmes County Sheriff's deputies began an interview with Amanda's 6-year-old son, AJ. He was whisked away from the scene by his step-grandfather, affectionately named Paul Chuck. He's married to Amanda's mom, but he's known the family for a long time from church, so he's almost like a family friend who just happened to marry AJ's grandmother. AJ and Paul Chuck were together for about an hour as they drive from the scene to where Paul Chuck and Brenda, Amanda's mother, lived together in Alabama. When Brenda finally arrives sometime later, Paul Chuck says to her, AJ's just told me the most remarkable story. They decide they're going to call the sheriff down in Holmes County. They get in touch with Sheriff Leigh, and he says, interesting, I think you should come right down to the sheriff's office and we should talk more with AJ. Apparently, AJ has quite a detailed story to tell the sheriff. In the next episode, we go deep dive into what AJ tells the sheriff. Everyone at the scene doesn't see anything untowards, but the sheriff's department pick up on some things that AJ tells them, the multiple stories that AJ tells them. That's all next on Esto. Esto is written, produced, and presented by me and Leigh Hunt. Theme music is graciously provided by Bart Mendoza of Manual Scan. The acoustic score was created specifically by Dylan Lauder of Dylan Lauder Music.
Fire Eyes Media.